Hello and welcome back to Dyscalculia Now. I'm your host Nathan, and this series is going to be about talking about my experiences with dyscalculia, which is a neurological learning disability, but it's not very widely known. I want to tell a story about how I self-diagnosed. And it was a few years ago, and I'm in my 50s, so I've been dealing with these issues my whole life, but we didn't really have a name for them. When I was a young adult, I was a professional artist, graphic artist, so people just said, well, the left hemisphere is about being systematic and organized and retaining data, and the right hemisphere of the brain is about creativity and flow. And so we just said, okay, so you're right-brained. Just keep being an artist. But when I started as a professional artist, being an artist meant being able to use a pen and a brush and a pair of scissors and glue and a ruler. Way back then. I took my first computer graphics class in 1984 or 85. It was right when the Macintosh computer came out. And I had no idea how the world was going to change. I don't know that anybody did at that point. But after 10 years as a commercial graphic artist, as you can imagine, it switched from ever using colored pencils or markers or paints to everything being on the screen. And different softwares had different tools, and their pull-down menus were in different places. And sometimes you had to physically save the file. Other times it would automatically save for you. There was a lot of variables, and you had to log in to the computer. So you had either PIN numbers or passwords. And obviously there's more numbers there. If you're designing a magazine or a calendar or a poster or a t-shirt series, you need to have the numbers and how many you need and when they need to be due. And we had this thing called Pantone color matching system, where every color that a graphic artist could ever want was assigned a 3 or 4 digit number. And you would give that number to the printer so that they could match it to their book of numbers. So even if your screen showed differently than their screen, which yes, they do, you'd still agree on which color it was. So we'd have to know those numbers. We'd have to know the size, the pixels, the amount of data that it was taking up. As we became more and more attached to putting things on the internet, it became more and more important how much data you were using. Anyway, flash forward to about 2 years ago, I was working 2 part-time jobs. One as a digital as a digital puppeteer for Hershey's Chocolate World, using a system developed by the Jim Henson Company. So it was electronic, but we were still puppeteering. We had the headphones and we talked to the audience. We had a monitor in front of us so we could see what we were doing, and then another monitor so we could see how they were responding. We had headphones so we could hear them talking. It was a neat job, and it was a great opportunity and very rare. And for somebody who has always had a passion for the performing arts as well as visual arts, I couldn't have asked for more. I did that for 5 years, doing the same 20-minute show over and over and over every day for 5 years, even with my love of throwing improvisational stuff in. It got a little tough after a while. And the last year of that, I was also working at an industrial factory as a tour guide, which was cool because I liked the big heavy tools and what they were building and that sort of thing, and I really liked that. But both jobs required me to start a presentation at certain times, and the presentation was supposed to be a certain amount long. And my coworkers would say, well, why don't you keep track of your halfway point and look at the clock, look at your watch. And when you get to that halfway point, you'll know whether you need to speed up or slow down or whatever. Yeah, that's what I need, more numbers in my head. How many people are in your audience? Are you starting late because some of them showed up late? Well, that means you're going to have to make adjustments to that midway point and to when you're supposed to, when you're trying to end your presentation. As you might expect, these two things started getting confused. Also, I had flexible schedule, so different days I would come in at different times and work for different amounts of time, or else I would not work on certain days. And every week at both jobs, all these things changed. Okay, so I started noticing that time was slipping out of my grasp. I was starting late when I swore I was on time. Or expecting to start early and having people tell me, no, you have to wait. And so that was a little frustrating. And there were times when I would show up half an hour late for work or an hour late. And if you've ever had to punch a clock, you know that most bosses do not like it if you clock in more than 5 minutes before your starting time, and certainly not more than 5 minutes, 10 minutes after your starting time. So in order to make sure that I wasn't late, I was going to work like an extra half an hour, 45 minutes early, which meant I needed to do all the time math in my head. How long is it going to take me to get to this job or this job, because they're different distances. I actually missed a few shifts. I thought I wasn't working on Tuesday. This week you are. Or I come in my uniform and they say, no, you're not working today, Nathan. So, I try to make a joke about it. I just love this place so much. I just can't stay away. But inside I was embarrassed, humiliated, and the stress built. I felt the stress. My supervisors were getting concerned that this was happening more and more, and it was becoming a problem at both places. And in the end, I had to quit the tour guide job, and not long after that, I quit the puppetry job. It was just, my brain was saturated and I couldn't bring in any more. And I feel like it's up to me. And I'm using calendars and phones and Post-it notes and making lists and tying strings around my finger or whatever to try and remember where I'm supposed to be when. It's just more than I can manage. And that's scary. Because now I have a job where I'm an activities person, so at certain times during the day, I'm supposed to provide certain types of activities. Physical activities, mental challenges, games, crafting, cooking lessons or whatever. And every day it's a different schedule and things are starting at different times. And some days I'm supposed to do 3 programs. Some days I'm supposed to do 5 programs. Some days it's another flex schedule. So some days I have off and some days I don't. And I'm worried. It's just like, oh man, it's this again. I thought when they hired me, they were saying, we love your personality and you've got experience with customer service and interacting with people, and you've got this performance background and this art background. You're obviously an imaginative and you got a sense of humor, blah blah blah, a smart guy. But I didn't grasp the number of times that things were going to change. I had no idea. I couldn't imagine coming up with 4 different activities every day, every week, and trying to keep track of how many people showed up and what supplies I need to order and how long the activity is supposed to be. And just, it's making me nervous. But talking to you now, a lot of the research that I've done, they're saying that if you have dyscalculia, go into the arts, go into media, do something more organic. And so that's what I'm trying to do. So at this point, I'm going to ask you to like, share, and subscribe. Come on back, support my channel. I did promise that there's going to be some merch, so I'll get to that soon. I promise. Have a good week and hope to see you next time. Bye-bye.